and I'm live, and I'm live, and I'm live, and I'm live, and I'm delighted to see Vanessa Thor, and delighted to see Baz. I love you. I love you both. Love you, love you, love you. I really do. Both of y'all. In the live chat. Oh, Vanessa, my God, this shit with Clif High. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Look, is it an ask me anything? It's not an ask me anything because we're not gonna apply to any stereotypes or labels. It's a no agenda live stream. I'm here at your service. Hello to Bug. We'll talk about JSX too. This is those last two comments. If they seem disconnected to you, that's because despite my best intent to absolutely stay away from Twitter. Well, the Bug thing. Well, both. Um, ridiculousness, but niceness too. I saw Bug and I saw Vanessa Thor there, so Vanessa knows about what's going on with Clif High and me on Twitter, which is ridiculous. And Bug gave a shout out to me and asked me about JSX. Spooky says thoughts on fake Cliff. That's not fake. That's Clif High. Listen, brother, sisters, I deal with this guy all the time. The guy responding to me back and forth on Twitter is Clif High. It's Cliff. God bless him. Goddess bless him. It's him. How do I know? Nonsensical, bizarro commentary. I mean, but it's a particular brand. Vanessa will tell you, like, when you speak to someone and you've talked to someone, even on text and email exchanges for the most part, you get to learn and understand, even if you can't articulate it. The subtle nuances are there. So Boga says, yo, I'm on a break having tea. Give it to us quick. Rick Von Himmlich Spluner says it's definitely Cliff, but he's off his rocker. Look, I think it's all context. He is. So I think a great solution and a thing that I want to start moving into is instead of getting into endless debates with these, morons, quite frankly, on the internet, it may just be an effective strategy to point people in the direction of people intelligently speaking about these subjects. And I can actually tie this into, Bug had asked about Jay Essex, and we can get to that, but also Vanessa Thor, is aware of, I know she's been involved in the back and forth between me currently and Clif High on Twitter, which has exploded. So I didn't try to call Clif High out on my last video. What I did do was when he showed up into the live chat, I had a couple of brief exchanges with him, and then I was just honest about my assessments about him, and he has been very honest with his assessments about me, both publicly. There are videos on his YouTube channel that specifically address me and try to discuss what I do right or wrong. And then he also has been always been very public on Twitter about, calling me like a communist, socialist, ignorant, ill-informed ideologue. He called me a jihadist. He said he went so far as to say that I was an ideological jihadist, and it was idiotic. But previous to this, he's always been, honest and, made very, silly things to say about me. Told me I was going to eat my words because something, I don't know, like about UFOs, some vindication of it might have even been Bob Lazar. I had no idea. And deviated says jihadist and communist. That's not easy. Yeah, right. So what I'm going to do is, instead of is to point out, instead of getting into an endless debate about why Clif High is wrong about certain things, is just to point people into and why these various other people are oftentimes wrong about things, is to basically point them in the direction of real intelligent people having real intelligent conversations about this thing. So, for example, this guy Lex Fridman, who's an MIT professor studying and teaching about artificial intelligence, having a YouTube channel with very in-depth, very entertaining conversations with other specialists in his field. And what I'm going to argue is that, to tell people who or following people like Project Camelot, or these various wackadoo people that come around speaking to similar style of YouTube channels, is to actually go and listen to people who are actual professors, who are actual professionals in artificial intelligence and in the hard sciences like math and physics and quantum physics. And just to point out is like, look how these people talk and act about these things. Look at the level of discourse and nuance. Look at the amount of reservation about what is known and what is not known. Look at the balanced approach and the real, sincere discussion about threats from artificial intelligence. Even, a guy who I don't necessarily respect as an intellectual heavyweight, but who does have a PhD in neurology and has put some thought into some of these things, is also in regards to the existential threat of artificial intelligence, is Sam Harris. Look at these people with actually half a brain speak, and how they speak and talk about these subjects, even when those subjects and discourses sometimes get into the political, right? And then if you go back and you go and you expose yourself to these thinkers, I think what you're going to discover is, when you go back and you go to Project Camelot and you listen to people like the so-called Dr. Richard Allen Miller, or this some of the other guys that she has on claiming to talk about artificial intelligence, that you'll see, or robotics or advanced science or the threats of 5G, you'll see, there's a distinct and understandable difference between the behavior and methodology of actual geniuses and the kind of claimed geniuses that you're going to see, show up on, conspiracy theory, world of YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and beyond. And so, to be quite frank and honest, on the last video, I said some things that I think Clif took direct umbrage at. And which was after, literally like months of having him, act like a friend to me in email, contact me via email, make various offers of support, make various, recommendations, or helpful attempted helpful contributions or the like. But then in public, being a total like asshole to me, I finally just, kind of was very honest. Just like the same way that he was fairly honest about his assessments of me on Twitter, I was very honest with my assessments of him in the public space of YouTube, while he was in the live chat, while he was free to defend himself. And I basically made a call and I said, Clif High is not that fucking smart. He's got patents. Okay, you have patents and whatever he claims to have patents on. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? I have seen hyper intelligent people discourse and converse in the realms of philosophy, in the realms of hard science. And this guy is not, I'm not saying he's stupid, you know what I mean? But the notion that he's some sort of, intellect, just amazing intellect, I thought debunkable and debatable. And also, look, a guy can be really smart in the field of computer sciences or math and have no idea what he's talking about in the realms of politics or race realism or the biological sciences or philosophy or spirituality or the assessment of what's good or bad art. You know what I mean? People aren't put together that way. You can have strengths and weaknesses, and they can express themselves disparately throughout the spectrum of human interaction. So anyway, apparently Clif took a serious issue with my saying that I didn't think that he was the world's smartest man. I surmise. I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but I surmise, because within 20 minutes of getting off of that YouTube video where I was very nice to the guy, I called him brother. I said, I love you. I said, you're great. I said, but I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't believe in the predictive ability of your web bots, and I don't believe that you got some sort of hard take on anything. And remember, Clif High, is on the record as previously saying that he thought that the 5G technology was designed to help keep mantid aliens from invading the world. That happened. Do you know what I mean? But I gave the guy a pass. I said, I've lost, he became one of those people, just like, Shane the fucking Ruiner, where I admitted to kind of having lost all kind of, objectivity, that I was dealing with these people and I was treating them differently than I did guys like Mendoza or Simon Parks, right? They were saying things that were just as nutty, out there, and insane, but I was nice to them because I came to know them personally. But then, after the latest stuff that Clif High has done, to me on said to me on Twitter, and just the back and forth that we had, I just think that it's fair to say that it may be for a good thing. It's okay if me and Clif aren't friendly. You know what I mean? I have nothing against him. I don't hate him. I'm not closing the door on being friendly with him again. But just like a crazy old uncle, which I've used as terminology to describe him before. I love him. I love him for who he is. But do I respect his intellect? No. Do I think he's right about these things? No. So what has happened is that then Clif went to basically accuse me, like have these like nonsensical arguments, accusing me of all sorts of, being a jihad, being an ideologue and a jihadist. And it's basically like the most arch form of basically like how would I describe it? Like I'm gonna do this. Hypocrisy. That's it. Hypocrisy. Because he's saying these like ridiculous things. So I'm trying to get to some of these various streams, like not to rehash it, but I think it's fairly funny. This is Clif High on September 4th. Interacting with CW Chanter when he is channeling SJWKaren, which is, this is what I mean. Like, he claims to be my friend. He acts friendly to me on YouTube and on private emails. And then he's going to come out in the public face, you Clif High, you hypocritical, nonsensical moron. I've seen through your fucking act. You're a two-faced guy. You're two-faced. You're going to act like you're some sort of Zen master. This is the other thing that he's going to do. Because this guy's got 3 baseline programs that he runs over and over again. Here's one of the classic baseline programs. I don't know if it's actually 3. I'm making a metaphor. I'm making a joke here. But he's got a limited set of baseline programs that he repeats ad infinitum. Okay, and one of the classic ones is, if you take umbrage with anything that he's done online, where he's been rude, dismissive, cruel, or unkind, he says, "Oh, I thought you would understand. I was merely trying to help you by illustrating a defect or a default in your methodology. It seems as though I was successful. By triggering a reaction to you, I may have shown you that you are emotionally immature and have unexamined elements within your shadow makeup that need to be worked out and explored," right? He'll take, like, he was trying to help you, right? Like, he did a good thing for you. This guy's not I don't, anyway. And it's just insulting. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, intelligent people don't do this. Intelligent people don't go to Twitter and start accusing people that they, treated like a friend under other instances. It's just, I don't care if you're smart or stupid. If you're a two-faced, backstabbing piece of shit, I don't care if you're smart. I don't care if you got a patent. Clif High is a two-faced piece of garbage. He's failed on some basic human level. Oh, the other baseline program that he has is that he'll claim to be schizo-differential different. That because his brother was a diagnosed schizophrenic, that he's somewhere on some sort of spectrum. No, I don't care. You don't get an excuse for being a jackass or a jerk. And also, I don't believe it. You know what I mean? But anyway, so SJWKaren, that's like, dismissive, childish name calling. I don't like you, and I don't like your ideology. I don't like your point of view regarding communism or Marxism or systemic racism or the the continued existence of colonial bullshit, post-colonial bullshit. So I'm gonna act like a Kekistani alt-right proud boy and call you an SJWKaren. Interacting with C.W. Chanter when he's channeling SJWKaren is exactly like dealing with any amygdala damaged people. Their rants rule their minds during the episodes. The not pretty face of communism. This is exactly the face of the Austrian commies I knew in the 1960s. No humor. Wait, no humor? This is nonsensical. Jesus. I'm trying to think what else. I'll just go to his thing. Here's tweets. Oh, this guy's online a lot, right? So here we go. And then Marx is, the stupid. Why am I wasting my time? Calling people libtards. So he's doing this all about this. So, I'm wasting my time here. I'm wasting my time. Then, I'm trying to make sense because he was doing something. I'm trying to find specifically where he was talking to me, but apparently this guy, apparently he tweets a lot. Why am I wasting my time? Oh, so we were talking about communism. Then, it's stupid. I'm not gonna waste my time. Why am I wasting my time? He said that that I wasn't funny because communists and socialists aren't funny. And then I was like, yeah, because everybody knows that I'm not funny. It's so stupid. And then he just anyway, it's a waste of time. He was making absolutely no sense. He has no knowledge and understanding of postmodernism. I've been over this with him. First of all, let me tell you something about Clif High. Clif High is the genius. The Nazi party, Hitler's party during World War II, the Third Reich. They were called, the Nationalist Socialist Workers' Party. But post World War II, they became they were classed and defined as an example of political movements along with Mussolini's Italy as fascist, right? Which is defined as the far right wing form of political extremism. Now, I'm not handing out passes for Stalinism or Maoism, hardline dictatorial communism as a left form, or socialism as a left form of extremism. But let's talk about right wing extremism. It is an accepted fact that in history departments around the world, in political science departments around the world, despite the fact that the word socialist appears in the title National Socialist Workers' Party, the Nazi Party was a right-wing fascistic party, right? Clif High claims that they were socialists. Why? What's his evidence? It says the word socialism in their name. That is like the notion that the Democratic Party is the party of the KKK, because the so-called Dixiecrats, the Southern Democrats during the 1940s, 50s, and 60s, who were in charge in the South and were just maintaining the same agenda that we see maintained by Republican people in the present state of affairs, because they were technically Democrats. Anyone who knows the history of the Democratic Party, anyone who's studied seriously the political history of the United States of America, know that despite the fact that the Southern Democrats were Democrats, technically they were part of the Democratic Party, their deviation from the standard Democratic protocol was such that people used things like calling them the Southern Democrats because they were different and distinct. And the minute the Democratic Party stood up to them, those guys all switched and became those men, those white men all switched and became Republicans. Lincoln back in the day was a member of the Republican Party, so now they're going to act like George Bush and Donald Trump are like Lincoln, and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are like the KKK because of pointing to these historical antecedents and predecessors, which is illogical and makes no sense. So the guy's notion of politics is batshit crazy. He starts saying all these like bizarro things about Marxism. But I hate to do this. I'm going to go back. I hate this. This is why I got to get off Twitter. Let's see if he does this. Yeah, Clif High has no idea what he's talking about. One of and I have to remember this. Let me get to this because let's see what he did here. Where's his? This is like the main one. Okay, blah blah blah. I want to get to the one where he calls me an ideologue because I want to go back and juxtapose it against this nonsense. Here's a typical example of Clif High talking. By the way, in case you did not catch on, we are arguing system of systems evolving within humanity over time versus static focus on means of production and distribution of objects. Marxism died in the 1920s when systems design emerged into technical thinking as part of postmodernism. Clif High does not know what he's talking about, but he knows the proper terms to use, right? He knows to use terms like postmodernism and socialism and identity politics, but it's a mishmash. So then he posts there's this popular image of this African American woman that's making the rounds on Twitter, and it's been around before, and it's her giving a speech where she basically says that all white people, like essentially it's like kind of an update of like the kind of a stereotypical conception of an old school Black Panther, white devil, kind of attitude of like all white people are essentially evil and they're essentially racist and will eternally be so. Many people on the left would have absolute issues with what she's saying and doing, and there's nothing to indicate that she's a mover or shaker within any sort of movement in the progressive left, like any sort of mainstream Democratic Socialist Party or even Black Lives Matter. There's nothing to suggest that she's not an outlier, but he puts up her image, which is just proves that Clif High is doing this this kind of populist QAnon left versus right rhetorical nonsense. He writes, prove it false, prove me wrong, show me commie/Marxism. Also, communism, Marxism, commie, this commie language. Someone's trying to be Sticks Hexenhammer 666. Prove it false, prove me wrong, show me commie Marxism, success on planet Earth. And then he has a picture of this woman, says the loving face of modern communism, celebrating 153 years of failure. And I pointed out, I said, you're not making intelligent responses to actual issues presented. This woman's position has nothing to do with Marxism. And then he writes, quite wrong. She is the epitome of the cultural Marxist. Though I do grant that she is using hashtag CCP, Chinese Communist Party form of inductive struggle session technique as perfected by Mao on the Long March. So really a blend of Marxist and Maoist, but a core message would make Che Guevara proud. You have no knowledge and working knowledge and understanding of Che Guevara's sophisticated take on socialism and its use in Latin America and Africa. Okay? You're a fucking asshole and you have no idea what you're fucking talking about. And you're not a super hyper intelligent, smart guy. I'm smarter than you, Clif High. I'm smarter than you. And I didn't do this until you did this. I didn't start being mean until you started being mean. then he writes in response to Vanessa Thor pointing out that he's not making any sense. He says one of the most effective tools of the cultural Marxist is assertion labeling. I want to really talk about this. Assertion labeling. It does not debate anything on merit, merely characterizes and labels by the characterization. Mere response is not refutation of any point, which is exactly what he was doing through the entire exchange that we were going back and forth on. I write them, you're doing the same thing, if not worse. But I want to get to and I'm going to leave it when I get to the one where he calls me a jihadi. Because that was like the ultimate for me. That was like the ultimate, okay, we're done here. I'm going to get to it. Don't worry. Let me get to it. And this guy friggin' tweets for a living at this point. Go to his Twitter feed. This dude tweets for a fucking living. I'll get to it. Don't worry. Now maybe I go to my thing and I go to tweets and replies. That'll maybe be more effective. Yeah. Let's see if that's it. Oh, Christ Almighty! Because he didn't even have the common decency to keep it in one thread, which is another thing that he does on fucking purpose. He doesn't keep it in one thread because to do so would be to make it easy for people to follow the entire conversation. So he peppers it around. Where am I? I'll find you, bitch. Hold on. These bizarre strain and arguments. Oh no, here's this one. He wrote this. When the first one I said, I wrote to him. Yeah, everybody knows I totally lack a sense of humor because he said I didn't have a sense of humor, and he said, "Ever watch a communist comedy movie? Question mark. Especially one from the pinnacle of communist culture, USSR, between 1966 and 1978. Fool! Of course not. Communism must not be ridiculed. Get back in line. Eyes front. Read Mao's book." After he accused me of not being funny. Meanwhile, he's talking about USSR and then he talks about Mao's book. If you knew the history of socialism and communism, you would know that under the USSR, the reading of Mao's Little Red Book was discouraged. China and Russia did not get together and hang out that much. But then again, you don't know history. So then he's talking about the people not being funny. He does the straw man argument. Show me a communist joke, current or historic. They don't exist. Face it, communism will always fail, not merely because wrong economic theory from 1867, but because it can't accept any criticism in any form, and laughter at anything is the most critical expression ever. Well, that's like a chicken soup for the soul nonsense. But meanwhile, I gave him a link to when he said about there's no funny communist, like show me any communist movies. Replied to him, and I provided a link. There's actually a quite long history of comedic movies that came out of the Soviet Union. Okay, many of whom Riley expressed and talked about and discussed. And the Russian people are known as a humorous people. They cry deeply and strongly at loss, and they laugh. My family is on my father's mother's side is from Russia, from St. Petersburg. They would talk about oppression. They would tell stories of absolute loss, and they had jokes about it. In Yiddish, in Russian, they had jokes about it. Where am I? I want to get to the point where he called me a jihadist. I just think it's great. Oh man, come on now. Why am I? This is like ridiculous. Like I should have. Well, I should have saved the tweet, and I'm gonna go back to you guys because you've been without me for too long. Get me to the tweet. I like that one. So my thing that he writes. Oh, then he posts a picture of Karl Marx and then says, "Okay, I was just struck by this, but we'll stop after this one." Well, he didn't stop after that one because that was a day ago, and he's tweeted today. Does this image remind you of C.W. Chanter? You may know. If any C Chanter, you may know. I look like Marx because I get it because I got a beard, so I'm humorless because I can't take humor. But he's so smart. He posts. Get it? It's a picture of Karl Marx, and Karl Marx had a crazy beard, and I've got a crazy beard too. Oh, you're hysterical. So my thinking that Sea Chanter, this is Clif High, looked like the commies I met while in Europe. The commies, they're human fucking beings. Get over yourself. That I met while in Europe in the 1960s was likely because they all looked like this, as does CW now. Meanwhile, the only difference between me and Clif High is we both have beards, but I got a full hair. And my dick still works because I'm not 92. Stop it. See, it's bringing me down. It's bringing me down. Oh my god. Where was this bullshit? Oh, they wrote, yeah, you're right. I provided him a link and then la 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 la. Where's this bullshit? Come on. Where's this? Ah, oh my god. Oh, this is what started it. Was just on live chat at CW Chanter's channel. I mentioned I felt a dark and humorless vibe from the left and progressives. It him off into a tirade, demonstrating why I feel this. No sense of humor, and no one is allowed to feel as they may. Very dark vibe. No free speech allowed. Okay. Then also, he said that I shouldn't deny the existence of machine owls previously. Where the fuck is it? Where the fuck is this bullshit thing where he called me a fucking, you know what I mean? He called me a friggin' Christ Almighty! Someone tell me that they know what I'm talking about. He called me a jihadist. Now you see, here's the thing: you want to be dismissive of another person's position. You want to be dismissive of another person's position. It goes something like this. This is a typical Clif High style response to him from me. This is Clif High style of response. Apparently, old man Cliff, Boomer Cliff, couldn't take a little banter, so he had a temper tantrum and went off to Twitter to tell all his little webbot followers about how mean I was to him. Oh, won't someone please think of the elderly? That's like, I'm not, and that's just the style of response that he has towards me. He called me a jihadist. He said I had no sense of humor because I had the audacity of expressing a political point of view that was different than his own, even though there was no nexus of connection between me, what I was talking about, which had everything to do with Donald Trump's America, had everything to do with QAnon, had nothing to do with Clif High's statement about dark vibes from the left. Nothing to do with them. He got insulted because I insulted his intelligence. I went and I kicked him where it counts, his wallet. Because I gotta stop. It's not worth talking about. It's not worth talking about. And if I had not if I had kept to my personal position previously stated of merely and only using Twitter to promote the uploading or the beginning of new videos and live streams, then I wouldn't have seen any of his stupidity, and I wouldn't have responded to it. But the last word is this: intelligent people do not discuss politics the way that he does on Twitter. He indicates with every move. Oh, here we go. Jasmine Emmerich found it. Thank Jesus. Jasmine Emmerich wrote, "Is this it? You display the same tolerance of foibles of ideology as a jihadi." Yeah, but what was the full friggin' line? Like the whole tweet. I want the whole goddamn one. Yeah, it's the one where he called me a jihadi. Like, unless he's got multiple tweets where he's calling me a jihadi, which I wouldn't put past him. And we still got to talk about J. Area Arai Essex being nuts. Guy. So anyway, but the point is being like, oh, here we go. Thank you, Jesus. So let me find this. Boom. Let's do this. Oh, yes. Here we go. This is it. September 4th. He wrote originally, this was his first tweet that I already read, but I'm going to do it for context, that I retweeted, and then here's his response. Okay, so he writes, interacting with, and this is his first volley. So he started this bullshit. Interacting with @Chanter when he is channeling SJWKaren is exactly like dealing with amygdala damaged people. How dare you? How dare you say such a thing to a person that you previously treated as a friend? You're a two-faced piece of garbage. You have no loyalty. You fucking fail the man code. You're not a brohismo. You're not a dude. You're not a dude. You failed the man test. I don't care about the wisdom of your computer science or your web bots. You lack loyalty, sir. You lack backbone. You're no Zen master. You're no master of anything. You're a fucking failure. Deal with it. Have fun watching irrelevance spin down the drain, asshole. Amygdala damage. The rants rule their minds during the episodes. Like, you would know. The not pretty. And this guy also claims to time travel. The not pretty face of communism, non sequitur. This is exactly the face of the Austrian commies I knew in the 1960s. No humor. And again, that's a perfect example of you knew a couple of Austrian communists, so therefore they had enough humor so that you know that all communists lack humor. So I wrote, and I retweeted it with this pithy line. Yeah, everybody knows I totally lack a sense of humor. To which he replies, you show no sense of humor about your ideology. I don't have a fucking ideology. Thus, demonstrate yourself to be an ideologue. That's not what an ideologue is. Not someone who demonstrates no humor in regards to their ideology. You respond as though your life/ego is threatened at all umbrage to wokeness, pro-offered, or perceived. What does that mean? You display the same tolerance of foibles of ideology as jihadi. No, I don't, sir, because I've never banned you, let alone threatened to kill you or get you, right? So therefore, you're wrong. You're a fucking idiot. Clif High is an idiot. All this bullshit about him being some sort of fucking genius is absolutely false and wrong. His whole predictions about cryptocurrency went nowhere. He was world famous. He got famous because he was telling people that cryptocurrency would be a bajillion, trillion, jillion, zillion dollars. So everyone subscribed to his little articles and fun stuff. You know, now he's left talking to Dick Alligator over at Crypto Viewing, where the geniuses who use remote viewing to prove that cryptocurrency is going to go up and down like an investment property. Ridiculousness. And like I said, you know, I only act this way, I react this way the more I know a person, right? Because it's only upon knowing somebody that, you know, I care. If some rando shows up in the live chat and is like, fuck you, CW Chanter, he gargles balls. CW Chanter, you could tell that this communist asshole wants to gargle black balls to simp for the Black Lives Matter movement. If some stranger comes into the live chat and says something that, or says something about my mom, That's just going to flow. I don't give a fuck. But if you know me, if you hang out with me, if you send me emails, if we have email exchanges back and forth, if we've conversed on the phone, if we're co-defendants in a fucking ridiculous, frivolous lawsuit, and you come out and you try to shame me or say some shit or not kind or cruel to me or mean to me, fuck you. Fuck you. Both barrels. Both barrels. Not because I lack a sense of humor because you insulted my ideology. Well, first of all, friends don't insult each other's ideology. They discuss each other's ideology. It's because I called you. It's because I said you weren't that smart, Cliff. You're going to watch this because you got nothing else to do. But what the fuck do you care what I say, right? Because you've got so much money from the software, right? Silicon Valley has been very nice to you. Europe, and you're basically retired. So who gives a fuck what I say? You must. Because you're always up in my live chats, right? And that would be another thing. You came here. I didn't come. I don't go fucking around in your live chats. I don't go fucking around in your live chats. You came fucking around here. And I was very nice to you. I said, love, 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 over and over again. And he's right. So Bug said, then show me what he said. Well, the other thing is this, is that when I'm wrong, I admit it. So he said, he said specifically, show me a communist movie, a humorous movie. And I sent him like a link to like the 25 top comedy films from communist Russia. No response. Right? No. Touche, got me. Boom. Right? No, because he's super genius. He's never wrong. He's always right. So go be right somewhere else. You know what I mean? I was very nice to you and very friendly to you. I was a very good friend to you. Now, because you acted this way, you're gonna have to apologize. I'm not saying you're dead to me, Cliff, but you're gonna have to apologize because you're in the wrong. You failed the common decency test, and I don't give a damn. I've dealt with people who have autism. If you were autistic, and I'd know and understand that you couldn't pay attention to the social norms because you couldn't pay attention to the social norms. And I would take no offense because it would be wrong to do so because it wouldn't be your free will. It wouldn't be your choice. I've looked at the fucking diagnosis you claim. It's not what you claim it to be. I think it's a handy excuse to be an asshole in public. There you go. Alien scientists, right? These people come along asking for it. Lol, CW isn't Mick West. He actually has a sense of humor and can actually admit when he's wrong. I try to be. But anyway, it's funny. I'll tell you something. It's the nature of reality. The reality is what comes out. And I'll tell you why. And Vanessa and Bug, who both I know, basically say the same thing. They say disagrees with CW often, but he's not a douche. Bug writes, CW is a lovely guy. I don't agree on a lot of things, but I still think he's the great. We know what the biggest differences I have with members of my own community are, and a lot of them, but the huge chunk of them have to do with the alien question. Aliens and UFOs. Am I too closed-minded? Am I too skeptical? Am I too cynical? Is there too much credible evidence that I neglect to register or to interact with as credible evidence? That's it. That comes up all the time. But I always try to maintain my own integrity, to say, well, I'm being honest. I'm not going to lie and say that I think something is credible when it's not. But I'll also say, I'm not the king of the universe. And some of these facts, some of these pieces of evidence are pieces of evidence or pieces of conjecture or lines of research about which people can have philosophical differences, and a person can legitimately say to something that I may discount, no, we're allowing that in. I think that that's credible evidence for the existence of extraterrestrials or transdimensional travel or whatever the case is. Right? And that's life on planet Earth. And we talk. But to my earlier point, I knew that this thing with Clif High was under my skin. And I don't, I triggered you, huh? Well, yeah. I mean, if you act like a jerk to me, right? If you constantly keep on needling me and you activate me and get me angry, congratulations, success story. You got me angry. I don't consider it a failing of myself to react or to respond to people being jerky or rude to me. Triggered much? No, it's not triggered. It's more like annoyed. It's more like aggravated. So I knew when this stuff started happening, every time I responded to Clif High over the last 2 days, I said to myself, don't do it. Don't do it. He says something stupid. Okay. Don't react, don't respond, don't engage. The same stuff I say with Mendoza all the time lately. Right? It's not worth it. Keep it above the belt. Talk about ideas and concepts, not people and drama. Let's keep it professional and let's keep on moving. But I failed that self-imposed desire on myself to stay away from social media. Right? And I looked. Oh, Phil Blair says C.W. Chanter was very gracious when he was wrong about President Jimmy Carter talking about remote view in an interview. I absolutely was. I ate my dick. I had to. I put my foot in my mouth and I had to swallow. So there you go. So anyway, so if I kept to my original concept and plan, which was only use Twitter for the promotion of the YouTube channel, get in, tweet the link, get out. See a DM from somebody you love, like Phil Blair or Vanessa, bug, respond to it, and then get the fuck out. Right? Don't look through the news feed. There's nothing there. Don't look through the friggin' notifications. There's nothing there. Maybe go through the notifications and give, hearts to people that, shouted you out in the tweet. Okay, big it up. You know what I mean? Spooky posted an image of a cumulus cloud turning into a twister. It was interesting. Okay, give that thing a heart. But then get out. You know what I mean? Then get out there, right? But I didn't. I had to take the bait and I had to look at Clif High's nonsensical stuff and write back nonsensical, this is nonsensical. This makes no sense. And he does not make any sense. He does not have no idea what he's talking about. I don't know what he knows about computers. I don't know what he knows about computers. I don't. But what I do know is that he knows jack shit about, he knows jack shit about Shadow Magic. Sam Shadow with a donation of $5. You're too good to me, baby. You're too good to me. You give me too much. I love you. I love you. Sam Shadow. Give me some change. I'll sing you a tune. Sam Shadow.